Why is it that some people work hard their entire lives and still feel empty? Not tired, not burned out, just empty. They wake up early. They do what they're supposed to do. They give up weekends without complaining. They follow the rules they were told would lead somewhere. And yet something feels off. Let me ask you something, and don't rush past it. Have you ever finally reached something you worked hard for and felt almost nothing when you got there? No relief. No excitement. Just a quiet, confusing flatness. If that sounds familiar, this story is for you. This is the story of a man named Michael. Michael did everything right, at least on paper. He studied. He got the job. He moved up. He stayed dependable. By the time he was 42, his life looked solid from the outside. Stable income. Decent home. People respected him. But at night, when things got quiet, that's when it hit. No sense of direction. No excitement about tomorrow. Just this dull, constant absence he couldn't explain. People told him he was lucky. That this was normal. That adulthood just felt this way. But deep down, Michael knew that wasn't the whole truth. Because when effort has meaning, it might exhaust you. But it doesn't hollow you out. Every morning, stuck in traffic, he'd watch everyone rushing forward, eyes fixed ahead, and wonder what they were all chasing. One day, stopped at a red light, he caught his reflection in the mirror and thought, "Is this really it?" That question shook him more than any failure ever had. Failure hurts, sure. But emptiness slowly eats at you. Michael didn't hate his job. He didn't hate his life. And that was the problem. Nothing felt bad enough to leave. Nothing felt good enough to stay. He kept working hard because that's what he knew how to do. But he couldn't answer one question anymore. What? When he was younger, effort had a direction. Curiosity. Possibility. Now it felt automatic. Like running nonstop without moving anywhere. One night, after another long day, he sat in his living room. TV on. Phone in hand. Mind somewhere else. And it finally hit him. He wasn't really living anymore. He was maintaining. Maintaining his income. His image. Everyone's expectations. And slowly losing himself. For years he'd believed a simple idea. If I just keep going, fulfillment will catch up later. But later never arrived. Promotion after promotion. Goal after goal. Still empty. What no one ever told him was this. Hard work without meaning doesn't build a life. It builds something you feel trapped inside. Michael wasn't lazy. He wasn't ungrateful. He was pointed in the wrong direction. And the most dangerous place to be isn't failure. It's success that quietly feels pointless. Because when failure hurts, you change. But when success feels empty, you stay, and slowly fade. That night, Michael finally asked himself a question he'd been avoiding. Not about money. Not about status. Something deeper. And that question was about to challenge everything he believed about effort, success, and what a good life actually is. Because what if the reason you feel empty isn't that you didn't work hard enough? What if it's because you worked hard for the wrong thing? That question didn't bring relief. It took it away. In the days that followed, something felt unsettled, like a thought he couldn't shake loose. He kept going to work. Kept replying to emails. Kept playing his role. But underneath it all, one quiet question kept circling back. Why am I doing this? Not in a dramatic way. Not in a breakdown kind of way. In a calm, unsettling way. Because when you lose the why, discipline slowly turns into resentment. Michael tried to bury the feeling the same way he always had, by staying busy. Longer hours. More tasks. No stillness. It didn't help. During a meeting he'd sat through 100 times before, something strange happened. He felt removed. Like he was watching himself speak, nod, agree. Slides changed. People talked. Decisions were made. And a thought cut through everything. If this disappeared tomorrow, would I miss it? The answer came fast. No. That scared him. Later, while cleaning out old files on his computer, he stumbled onto a forgotten folder. College stuff. Old notes. Random drafts. He opened one out of curiosity. It was something he'd written years earlier. A personal statement. As he read, his chest tightened. The words were messy, hopeful, alive. I want my work to matter. I want to build something meaningful. I want to feel engaged with my life. He leaned back and stared at the screen. Who wrote this? And when did he decide to stop listening to that person? That version of him wasn't chasing safety. He was chasing meaning. Somewhere along the way, Michael had traded that for comfort. That night, he met an old friend for coffee. They talked about work, family, how fast time moves. Then the friend asked, almost casually, "So, are you happy?" Michael didn't answer right away. "I honestly don't know," he said. The silence sat there. Then the friend said something simple. "I realized I wasn't exhausted from working hard. I was exhausted from working on things I didn't care about." Michael felt that land. "What did you do?" he asked. The friend shrugged. "I stopped asking what was next, and started asking if the cost was worth it." That stayed with him. Because suddenly Michael's life felt expensive. His time, his energy, his attention, all going towards something that paid him, but didn't give much back. That night, lying in bed, he argued with himself. This is normal. Don't overthink it. Be grateful. But another voice answered back, quiet, steady. You're not empty because you've failed. You're empty because you've ignored yourself. And that scared him. Because if success wasn't the solution, then it couldn't save him. Michael realized he'd been measuring progress by effort alone. Hours, sacrifice, output. But effort without direction doesn't equal fulfillment. It just makes you better at running in the wrong direction. And stopping was scary. Not because he loved where he was headed, but because slowing down meant he'd have to face the truth. That his life looked right, but felt wrong. By morning something had changed. Not confidence. Not clarity. Ownership. No one was coming to fix this. And if things were going to change, it would start with a choice. A real one. Michael's first step forward didn't feel empowering. It felt uncomfortable. The next morning, instead of rushing into his routine, he sat with a notebook and wrote. 4 hours. Everything he'd been chasing because it was expected of him. And at the bottom of the page, he wrote something he couldn't unsee. I've been working for what others value, not what I do. That realization hit hard. Change meant risk. And risk meant losing comfort. Still, he started small. At work, he asked more questions. Challenged habits he'd never questioned before. Some people pushed back. Some didn't get it. But for the first time in a while, he felt engaged. Then he took on the project he'd been avoiding, the one that scared him because it exposed what he didn't know. He failed more than once. Second-guessed himself. Considered backing out. The old voice showed up. Stay safe. Don't mess this up. But he remembered the question he kept returning to. What am I avoiding? The answer was always the same. Discomfort. So he stayed. Progress came slowly. Unevenly. A small win here. A mistake there. But something changed. Failure didn't break him. It taught him. Weeks later, a leadership opportunity came up. High stakes, high visibility. The old Michael would have declined. This time he paused and said yes. The early days were rough. Awkward meetings. Self-doubt. But he wasn't numb anymore. When a client challenged him publicly, Michael took a breath and answered honestly. Not perfectly. Honestly. And that mattered. Over time he noticed something. The more aligned his effort became, the stronger he felt. Not louder. Not flashier. Just steadier. Then came one final decision. An opportunity that could push everything forward or derail it completely. Fear showed up again. You're not ready. Michael smiled. He recognized that voice now. And he moved anyway. Michael didn't move forward because he was fearless. He did it because staying empty hurt more. The opportunity didn't magically fix his life. What it gave him was alignment. His effort finally matched who he was becoming. Work was still hard. Days were still long. But when he came home tired, he felt grounded, not hollow. There's a difference between being drained by obligation and being tired from something that matters. Michael didn't quit working hard. He stopped working blindly. He learned this. Hard work isn't the problem. Misaligned effort is. Most people don't feel empty because they lack discipline. They feel empty because they've disconnected effort from meaning. Michael started asking one question before giving his energy away. Does this move me toward a life I respect? That question didn't make choices easy. It made them honest. He said no more often. Chose better. Stopped confusing busy with progress. And slowly the emptiness loosened. Not because life got easier. Because it became his. If this story feels familiar, hear this. You're not broken. You're misaligned. And that's something you can fix. Start small. Ask what actually matters to you now, not what used to. Take one uncomfortable step toward it. Redefine success as honesty with yourself. Michael didn't become famous. He didn't become rich overnight. He became present. And that changed everything. Hard work won't save a life that lacks meaning. But meaning can transform even the hardest work. Choose carefully where you spend your effort.